Hello and welcome to today's edition of The Exchange, brought to you by the New York Stock Exchange. I'm live in the historic NYSE library, and I'm joined today by Elysabeth Alfano. She is the CEO of VegTech Invest. Now, as a reminder, today's interview is for informational purposes only. The NYSE does not recommend investments or investment strategies. Elysabeth, thank you for joining. You have big news. What is it?
Great to be here. Thank you for having me. We do have big news. So EATV, the world's only plant-based innovation and climate ETF, has been determined by Ethos ESG, which is an ACA global company, has been determined by Ethos ESG that we are certified carbon neutral without buying credits.
Okay, so carbon neutral, certainly hot topic in the press all year long last year, going into our new year. How'd you do it?
The trick here is it's not just carbon neutral. It's carbon neutral without buying credits. So naturally, other ETF products are putting out emissions. It's how we all move through the world. It's not intentional. It's just what it is. But because of the nature of what we do, just being true to ourselves, so plant-based innovation, we don't put out those negative emissions as compared to the companies that we're replacing that do. Therefore, we don't have to go out and buy credits. We are just naturally carbon neutral without buying credits. So let's dive into that just a little bit. Why would plant-based innovation be carbon neutral without buying credits? Because we see that our current food supply system has this incredibly long supply chain. We're shipping live animals and food everywhere. We're cutting down all these trees that sequester carbon. We're cutting them down, and then in doing so, we're emitting carbon. We're planting crops in a monocropped way. Then we take those crops, we feed them to animals, not people. The animals need more food, so then we have to feed people again. We have to ship more food around, more crops around, cut down more trees. Incredibly inefficient. By replacing that long supply chain and innovating to have a much shorter supply chain and just bypass that middle animal altogether, those companies that we invest in aren't creating those emissions. And so we are carbon neutral without buying credits.
So let's take it back to the ETF, right? So for institutional investors, retail investors, why does this matter to them?
Well, this actually is ETF relevant because that's what we do, is investing in these companies that are disrupting the global food supply chain. And therein lies the alpha. The global food supply chain is shifting now, just beginning to be more sustainable. It has to be. And so we capture that alpha, but by disrupting the global food supply chain, we also make this positive impact. Let's boil it down to real numbers. If you invest in the S&P, which you probably do invest in the S&P 500, we see that the global warming potential of that portfolio is 3.2 degrees Celsius. Now, coming out of the Paris agreements in 2015, we saw that countries around the world said they wanted to target 2 degrees Celsius maximum with an ideal target of 1.5 degrees Celsius. So global warming at 3.2 is basically going to tank the entire planet. But you see that the global warming potential of EATV is 1.18 degrees Celsius. So I think, as you know, the SEC is pushing for emissions disclosures across all scopes, 1, 2, and 3, and people and portfolio managers and even retail investors are starting to think about their carbon footprint. You see that by investing in EATV, you can actually bring down the average carbon footprint of your portfolio when you have such a player like EATV that is only at 1.18 degrees warming potential.
So Elysabeth, it's 2023, new year, new us, new you. Take this all down for me. What do you expect out of all these different items coming together? What should we expect out of EATV this year?
Yeah, I think you're going to see a lot of inflows into EATV. I think portfolio managers for institutions as well as individuals are going to start thinking about the shift of the global food supply system. They're realizing that you can't sufficiently impact climate change if you don't address the food supply system. So investing in shifting global food systems through plant-based innovation, big topic. Individuals are going to start saying, hey, I want a better personal carbon footprint. I not only demand this through disclosures and emissions of scope 1, 2, and 3, but I want it for the footprint I have in the foods I buy, as well as my investment portfolio. So I think you're going to see from portfolio managers as well as individuals that they're going to be investing in EATV.
Now, as a reminder, Elysabeth is very active on social media. You can find her quite easily by either going to LinkedIn or Google or any of your favorite sites. Also, if you want to learn more about EATV and other ETFs available in the US, you can find it all for free on our website, etfcentral.com. Very easy to remember. Go to ETF Central, like, follow, and you can actually go into the toolbar there and search and just start typing in EATV and it'll pop right up. That's a wrap on today's edition of The Exchange, all brought to you by the New York Stock Exchange, the home for ETFs.